let's start off spicy at the top, bro. Let's start off at the top. And let's go with who is your running back number one overall? You got Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. These guys are all at the very top of draft boards. A lot of people know my thoughts, and I've been pretty clear on my thoughts over the last year who I think. Who you got?
I'm rocking with Jahmyr Gibbs on this one. And the downside of my case is they lost their center. And when that kind of thing happens, I want to fade those offenses because I think the offensive line is like the most important factor. But at the same time, if I'm expecting this offense to not be as efficient in some factors, pretty much the passing game, I think they're going to have to check down a lot more to somebody like Jahmyr Gibbs. And that just gives him upside that we're not really going to have. I think a lot of things that people are forgetting is that like David Montgomery is still coming off of like an ACL, LCL injury that he like recovered in theory for the playoffs, but he was not nearly as efficient during that time. So for me, I'm just not fully sold that like David Montgomery is actually fully healthy. I'm not sold that they're not going to be throwing a lot more checkdowns, which means there's a very real chance that like he could just have nuclear level upside for this season because, well, we saw him go nuclear plenty of times last year. So we'll see how it goes. I'm curious to see why you like Bijan so much.
Yeah, and I would say because I really liked the way that Gibbs finished the year last year. Once David Montgomery got hurt, it was crazy. Like it was a crazy finish to the year. And if you count week 18, he finishes the RB1 overall, which is wild to think about. But a lot of that is attributed to the fact that David Montgomery was out for an extended period of time. And so my concern with Bijan versus Jahmyr Gibbs is, will Gibbs look the same part when we know it's going to be a two-headed monster still? And the fact that Ben Johnson's gone, is his offense going to look the same? Whereas we saw what this offense looked like with Michael Penix under center. And it's a lot of Bijan Robinson. And one of the things we were kind of missing with him that we didn't see was that explosive play, like that 70-yard, 60-yard run. A lot of his was like, man, he started off slow, and then we were hoping he would get to a point where he's ripping off some of them 60-yard, 70-yard TDs. If that happens this year, we're talking about a 2,000 to 2,500-yard total yard player in Bijan Robinson. Like, no questions asked. He's having a Saquon Barkley-like season, whereas I think Jahmyr Gibbs, the ceiling for him is a little bit different because of it's so tied to, like, does David Montgomery stay on the field, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. And I guess, like, the basis around my thesis is, like, I just don't expect David Montgomery to be a thing. Like, and that's really where I lie more than anything. Like, it's hard to not see, like you're saying, with Bijan having a great season because, like you, I'm a believer in Michael Penix. Like, I think Atlanta is going to be great this season, man. But at the same time, it's just like we saw how Achane got to the RB3 overall finish. And it was through basically becoming a wide receiver. If Amon St. Brown's knee's a little bit worse than we're expecting, like, I don't know, that PPR floor might just be sending Gibbs to the moon is all I can really see.
So let me ask you this. So realistically, like, right, obviously with Jahmyr Gibbs, you're banking on the Alvin Kamara, now the Jahmyr Gibbs type of production. Neither of us really talk Saquon Barkley. And one of the concerns I have for Saquon isn't necessarily like a thing that actually happens. It's just one of those intuition things, right? Like, you have a lot of touches, you have a lot of carries, you have a long season. I'm not banking on Saquon Barkley at age 27 staying healthy through an entire season. I also think the Eagles are probably going to protect their investment a little bit more. It's why you draft another running back. You bring in an A.J. Dillon. You have a Will Shipley. Like, you have kind of these personnel pieces that say, we're going to take a little slower with you this year. You already had the great year. Like, we already paid you. You're good to go. Whereas Bijan hasn't had that. He has Tyler Algier, and towards the end of the year, it was very clear and evident that they said, we like Bijan a lot more than Tyler Algier. You're going to get the run when it's most required. Why aren't you on Saquon Barkley? Because to me, I just feel like the upside with Bijan's there. Maybe even the floor with Jahmyr is there a little bit better than it is with Saquon.
I like Bijan. I'm not Bijan. Saquon. It's like, I don't know. You're going to have one of Saquon or Derrick Henry die. It's kind of how I look at it this year because of how much they were used. Like, that is just the history of running backs in, like, the NFL. Whoever has the highest usage typically just falls off the next season. It's not a guarantee. Like, if you look at the data, it's genuinely like 50%. But if you're giving me two players that basically did the exact same thing, I'm going to at least be fading one of them. The specific case with Bijan is, I look at it and I want to say, didn't they lose, like, a bunch of players on the defensive side of the ball?
I think they had a little bit of turnover, but they still have a good.
Yeah, they still got a bunch of dogs. But for all we know, that could go wrong coming into the next season. We could have a Super Bowl hangover of some variety. Just a lot of ways in which case you don't have just a necessity for a run-dominant kind of game. I think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot more. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, I don't want to touch them.
Right.
But it's like, well, what if they just don't run through every team like they did last year? Like, what if they're a slight bit worse? Like, we've seen this happen plenty of times before. And ultimately, that means we're probably not going to get as many home run Saquon runs. And that is what a lot of his fantasy season was built on, which isn't bad. That's how you get a legendary season. But ultimately, like, are we going to get back-to-back legendary seasons from Saquon on the Eagles? I have a lot lesser time of believing something like that. Same thing with Derrick Henry.
Well, in the last 4 games he played, he only scored 2 touchdowns. Saquon's the kind of player, though. It's like, I don't know. He's been a game breaker, and he doesn't have as much tread as we think because of those injury years that he had with the Giants. It was like he doesn't have as many miles as like a Derrick Henry, as you mentioned, who has had so many carries over the last few years. But interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about Saquon Barkley versus Gibbs versus Bijan. I mean, at the end of the day, those are all 3 great running backs. I don't think you'd be too mad at it. Gabe said, can you guys do Henry, Taylor, CMC, that range of running backs in the 2nd round? Now, this is an interesting range, Wells, because I know with Derrick Henry, like, for whatever reason, he goes 1,900 yards last year, gets a contract. Like, they're working on a contract extension, and now he's down in the 2nd round. Jonathan Taylor had one of the strongest endings to a year you will see, 500 yards in the last 3 games, over 500 yards in the last 3 games. He's fallen to the 2nd round. CMC, we're talking about a 25-point-per-game player when he's at his peak. With the Niners not having Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk, he's fallen to the 2nd round now. What's your thoughts on these 3 guys, man?
I think it's very easy, to be honest with you. It's easy? McCaffrey by a mile. Like the
by a mile, though?
Yeah, it's because this is my thing, right? They have the easiest schedule in the whole entire league. They're going to project to be a top 5 offense, and they're going to be giving this guy the ball. His whole thing is he does not want to leave the field. I think you can say that about any player for the most part, outside of like Kadarius Toney. It's just somebody that you want to be taking shots on. Like, the only downside you can realistically say is like, well, Isaac Guerrero might get more run. And if that is truly the case, that's because they're blowing the team the hell out of the water. And typically in those games, guess who has 2 touchdowns? McCaffrey. Like, they're going to give him his legs here. I'm willing to buy the dip. Could I look like a fool? For sure. But the other bets that we're essentially making here is Derrick Henry having the same level of season that he did last year. Definitely possible, but I think Keaton Mitchell's going to be healthy, and they're going to like actually take off the gas and give it to him somewhat.
They say that all the time, though. With Keaton Mitchell, you think
he was injured all last year? He was he was gone for all of last year. This year, we'll see. My buddy did say he was like one of the worst RAS scores or something like that, so I don't really want to get too high on that. But Jonathan Taylor, like, I think the Colts are going to be good for what it's worth. I think they're going to be a slept on team, but it's going to be Daniel Jones at the helm. Like,
yeah,
how much do we really want to bet on Daniel Jones? Like, I love him for best ball. I think he's a great flyer there. I'm willing to take the swings. But like, a Daniel Jones-led offense, how good are we really expecting it to be?
Well, I think Daniel Jones, the one thing for him, though, is that he will basically be a light version of what Anthony Richardson is if he can't be healthy for the season. And if Daniel Jones starts, you know they're going to run the football. And I trust him with Shane Steichen more than I did even with Brian Daboll. Like, I think Daniel Jones, coming a year off of the ACL injury, even if he's a starter, will be better than he appeared before. Now, in this range, though, it's like this is a really tough range. I feel like Derrick Henry is the safest out of all of this. And I know the age is probably the biggest question mark out of anything, but all these are older backs. And CMC, like, you have to bet on you're betting on health with Derrick Henry, and man, he's had a lot of touches. I don't know if he's going to make it. CMC has like 4 healthy seasons to his name in his career. So for me, I'm looking at it, okay, like maybe he gives you the most upside, but he's also the riskiest out of this, even though Jonathan Taylor has a bum ankle as well. So I think all of them carry risk, but it's like Derrick Henry's really only had 1 season where he just wasn't healthy, and he still had 1,000 yards that season. I'm kind of like, I think CMC is right there, but I think I would just take the safety net. I know Derrick Henry, if he plays 17, is getting damn near 2,000 yards. He's getting 15 touchdowns. Like, you just know he's going to get that workload. Now the question is,
2,000 yards this year, he's going to be in an Adam Sandler movie.
They did say that. Yo, he might get it. He was close last year.
He was. I think it's in the realm of, that's probably my scariest fate. I do think that ultimately one of Saquon or Derrick Henry could just be the nuts again this year.
Yeah.
Like, mobile quarterback with one of these great running backs. It might just be the new formula for the NFL.
Shit, you're not lying. And the one thing is, like, Jonathan Taylor is kind of in that same realm. We've seen him rip off an 1,800-yard season in the past, and that's when he was healthy. If Jonathan Taylor's healthy, like, it's easy to forget he was the RB1 not just too long ago. So I don't know. I think I love the second round this year. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this is one of my favorite rounds. Shout out